Hello and welcome back to the Modern Leader Way podcast. And we are back on video for season 4. So if you're not already subscribed to our YouTube channel, then head over to the Modern Leader Way on YouTube. You'll find the link in the show notes and you can give us a follow over there and follow along on the video. So I have some beautiful light coming in today, which has been a rarity these last few days. So I'm basking in the light as I also continue to bask in the feel-good vibes off the back of my very first retreat that I ran this weekend in Margate, Kent. So I'm gonna give you a bit of an insight into the behind the scenes of what happened there, not just on the day, but in the run up to it, because I almost let fear win and didn't run this retreat. And I'm already set to launched my second retreat in the new year, and I think it's going to sell out before I've even had a chance to put it out to the front lines, which would just be amazing and evidence, absolute proof of the fact that I didn't need to listen to that voice of fear that told me I shouldn't perhaps do it because maybe I'll be disappointed if no one buys, right? And how often do we come up against this voice, whether or not we're aware of it? When we think about it, we could probably tune in and go, oh yeah, it's generally there. Whenever I want to do something new, whenever I want to do something a little bit scary that I haven't done before, there's generally this narrative that's running in the background that could easily talk me out of whatever it is, the said thing that we want to go and do, right? So we're going to get into that. But first of all, I hope you've enjoyed the kind of recap that we've done at the beginning of season 4, which is really just to go back and have a look at what did I mean by modern leader? How do I define what a modern leader is, who a modern leader is, and how she moves through this world? Because I think it's important just to come back to the intention with the name of this podcast, even, right? Because yes, I talk often in my high level work, I am talking to the execs in corporate, the CEOs, the business owners, even who want that support as they put their best foot forward and really step out into the world as the embodied modern leader to make more impact and have more influence in her life and as a result have more income. And the modern leader is also anyone who is leading in her own life and career, whether or not she's in an active leadership role right now. She might be aspiring to do so. You might even find yourself having stepped back from a leadership role. Maybe you're a new mum or you're a mum of older kids and you're finding yourself again in terms of like, who am I as the leader of my life and where am I going? And how do I find something that feels good, that feels better than it has done up until now, right? Because often we push and we strive and we get to this kind of stage in our life and we go, hang on a minute, is this all it's cracked up to be? Is this it? Or is there more to life? So that's when we come in with, well, the modern leader way is putting that desire to have a life that feels good, that's really satisfying, that's deeply fulfilling at the forefront of everything that we do. All right. So that's what we've done with the last few episodes over the last few weeks with the relaunch in the podcast this side of the summer, well, closer to the end of the year now. Can you bloody believe it? So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed just regrounding with me back into the intention here behind the Modern Leader Way. So with that said, I am still buzzing at all the feedback and just the feel-good vibes I've got from running my very first time out retreat this year. And not even just this year, this like in my business. So in the early days of my business, I did run a few in-person events and I ran them here at my home in my Airbnb down in the garden. And they were very much focused around sort of teaching on what I'd learned about our brain and our voice of anxiety that's often takes over and takes a grip. And I had some beautiful people come and turn up for those events in the early days. And actually, one of them turned up also for my first retreat, which was awesome because I think those first events that I did was probably 6 years ago. So it really is a beautiful testament, I think, to the fact that when people find me and they work with me, they generally become either really good friends or they just hang around because they want more, which is really lovely feedback for me, right? But it was beautiful. I had the most beautiful venue. My sister owns a home on the beach in Margate, which is a small town. Well, it's quite a large town actually in Kent on the seaside on the north coast, sandy beaches. Um, the house literally looks out on the beach, so it's that close. When it says it's a beach house, it's actually a beach house on the beach. It's like a literally a few seconds and you're like stood in front of the beach. Um, and we were having a little get together. I can't remember why my sister was in town. She doesn't live there anymore. It's actually an Airbnb, a holiday home. It's also a location venue. So photographers, for example, will go there and use it as a really beautiful location to get some really good pictures of their clients or of their products, whatever it is. So it's used for sort of these different reasons. And I was like, "Oh, we need to do a retreat here." And she was like, yes, let's do it. So that's how it was born, literally from this idea I've had in the back of my mind of actually getting women together and having this like real in-person connection. So I love squeezing people in real life, and I love sitting down and having that real deep connection in person. Like this online is great because it means I get to reach more of you. It means I get to like still have that connection with you, even if you're not sat in this county or this country, even. We get to, the internet just opens up this world of connection that we could never have imagined before. But still, I love that in-person connection. And so I've craved for a long time, since I did the events in the early days, actually, since COVID, really, since lockdowns, I've really craved that in-person connection. And what I've done, the way I've got around that is I've gone out and I've got these little part-time jobs where I get to be around people, I get to be part of a team, I get to be in some of those conversations and I have customers that I meet and I can have like we can go places with the conversations, right? And I realized that also those were perhaps distracting me from focusing really on the impact that I'm here to make in the lives of the women that are listening now, like you who's listening and tuning in. And so quitting those jobs and actually deciding that I get to create that in-person experience with me because that's what lights me up. And I get to do that through my business. And that's when I came back to this idea of running a retreat. Now, the reason I didn't do it before now was probably because of distractions, but also because of that voice of fear, right? The voice, and what does that sound like? So, my voice of fear sounded like this. But what if no one buys? What if you advertise this retreat and no one comes? What are you going to say then? What if people buy, but they're people you don't like? Like you actually realize, oh God, I don't want that person there. What if they buy, but they don't come? What if they buy, they come and they don't get on with each other? What if they don't enjoy themselves when they come? What if you muck it up? What if you don't know what to say? What if you don't you mince your words or you don't like you have a brain freeze and a brain block and you can't like move them through in a way that you envision? This voice sounds very logical, right? It's almost like, Emma, have you really thought about this? Because really, you're putting yourself in a position where you're very exposed. You might as well be naked because if you cock up, you're going to be feeling very embarrassed, very ashamed, and we just don't want that for you. Like that's what it is kind of doing, right? It's like it's almost like your inner safety committee coming together and just giving you all the logical reasons, even if they're not particularly logical, right? but they sound logical. The voice has a tone of logic to it, of rationale. Um, it's all the reasons why you might fail, all the reasons why you might look stupid, all the reasons why you might feel disappointed if it doesn't go as planned. And the thing is, like, I have to admit, I almost let that voice of fear win. I almost didn't say, yeah, fuck it, let's do it. Let's put it out there, let's try it, let's give it a go. I almost didn't say that because I almost listened to this long time, long standing, long serving committee in a committee that really has my best interests at heart, but is from a place of fear and not from a place of look at what's possible when you put yourself out there, when you just go do the damn thing. And aren't I glad that I didn't listen to that voice? But the interesting thing was when I got there, when we got to the day on Saturday, the retreat, and people started turning up, and we'd had this beautiful time just connecting together, opening up, sharing our truth, like supporting one another, showing kindness, showing love. It was just such a beautiful day. It couldn't have gone any better. And that's down to the people, the women that showed up, the women that did say yes to themselves. But you know what? When we had this conversation about um, where are we letting fear win, it was evident that I am not alone in this. And actually, there were a number of women there that had very similar feelings around actually signing up to come to the retreat itself. They were sitting there, their voice was saying, their inner committee was saying, oh, hang on a minute, but you're not a modern leader. You're not a CEO or an executive. You know, you're old or you're too young or like am I good enough? Like, are you good enough really to sit around that table that Emma's creating? And listening to this, like, honesty in some of the women who still said yes to themselves. They didn't let fear win. They still said yes to themselves. They still signed up to it. But listening to them, it's just that beautiful reminder that we are not alone in this, yet we hold so much shame and we hold so much in, we kind of keep it to ourselves, right? We keep that inner committee very much under lock and chain because we don't want to admit to anyone that we're having this inner conversation. And actually, we're all the same. It happens to the best of us. Trust me when I say you are not alone. The chances are, if you don't have this awareness, is that you're just not aware of it because it probably is in the background as a narrative that's running that you're just so used to in the background that you're not even aware that you would call it out as the voice of fear. This inner committee, that's this inner safety committee. Think of that health and safety department in your workplace, whether it was, the health and safety person in the team that you worked for, or there was a big health and safety division. They are the ones that come around and they tuck in the cables and just in case anyone trips, or they're looking for the dangers, right? They're looking for the risks. They are looking for all the reasons why something might go wrong. They are looking for all the ways that we need to tighten up on our controls to make sure things don't slip up, that you don't hurt yourself, that you don't get injured. And this is what our inner committee is doing, but it's more from a just protecting yourself from that shame, that disappointment, that it going wrong, it not working out as well as it could do. So it's there, it's in all of us. It's this primal, um, it's a primal thing, right? It's always going to be looking out for your safety first. But the reality of today is that we are not generally put at risk. As we move through our life, we're not generally at risk of harm. We don't go out in the street and expect to come face to face with a saber-toothed tiger, is the sort of example that we get given, right? We're not necessarily at danger, and there is the difference, right? There is danger which poses immediate risk to your life. And then there is fear of doing something new, of trying something, of going somewhere, maybe alone, where you don't know people, and what are they going to think of me? And all these things, it's not a danger situation. It's not a matter of life and death. It is more so just that voice that is saying, oh, this is new. We're not sure. Like, can you handle it? Like, really? Because it just wants to keep you safe. That's where the voice comes from. And so it's really beautiful to be around that table with the women and to hear these stories come up. And I think it came up because I shared at the very beginning, this day almost didn't happen because I almost let fear win. And, it was safe then for them to say, yeah, me too. I almost didn't make it here because I almost let fear win. And I love that when we can just have that real honest and open conversation. Doesn't it make you feel like, oh, it's not just me. I'm not crazy. Like it just is. It's just part of us. It's just how our brain has learned to operate over the course of our lives and taking in all the inputs that we've had. And I like to, first of all, see, like, now I see it as this inner internal committee that's just got my safety at like in the forefront of their mind, right? Just gonna take a sip of my tea. But actually, when we can see that voice as just a younger part of ourselves that was scared, and potentially the voice of an older, more wise in our mind, in our younger eyes mind, like a parent, a guardian, a teacher, an authority figure that told you it wasn't safe. It told you it wasn't safe to, know, speak to strangers, for example, or it told you it wasn't safe to go somewhere on your own, like walk down a dark alley at night on your own, or it told you to carry a rape alarm, for example, just in case, someone decided to take an opportunity when you were alone. So that we internalize those voices when we're younger, and they start to sound like our own voice. They start to sound like our own thoughts. But actually, when we get some awareness around them and then we get some understanding of where it's come from and the fact it's not us, right? It's not like that thought is not, it's not something that you are actively, consciously, intentionally thinking about. It's just there in the background. It's just there to try and keep you safe. But actually, we have to go, hang on a minute. Hi, I see you, committee. I see you, safety committee. I appreciate you. I love you for trying to keep me safe. And I'm here saying I'm a grown woman and I know what I want. And I want this thing over here. I want to go to this pottery class and do this new thing, or I want to go to this pole dancing class and like try this new thing out. Whatever it is, these are some of the things that came up that we said that were desires that we were sitting on, that we were letting fear win over. And actually, I'm going to go and I'm going to give it a go. I'm going to go to the retreat. I'm going to go to the class. I'm going to book on the thing and we're going to be okay. And when you do that thing and you are okay, you show your internal safety committee that you have evidence that everything will be all right, that you've got this, that you're not going to be coming into any harm. So, how we start to stop letting fear win is we are aware of it in the first place. We get familiar with what that voice sounds like. We tune in, we get curious when we hear ourselves coming up with all the excuses or the reasons why it's not a good idea to go and do the thing that we ultimately deep down really want to do. We get curious about it, we start to recognize it, and we start to go, oh, where did it come from? Like, maybe it's just because I had really super protective parents when I was growing up that didn't want me to come into any harm. Maybe it was that specific time a teacher said this to me, or like a policeman stopped me in the street and said this thing to me, and it's like stuck. And my thoughts have taken on the sound of that person. And I've just over time repeated it enough times that I believe it to be true. But actually, when we take that step back, we can see it for what it is. It's just trying to keep us safe. And then we can literally just step in and like take back our power from that voice and make a decision anyway, like considering their concerns, but not at the expense of what it is that we want to be doing, right? So the other analogy I like to use is we treat this voice like a small child, like the younger version of us, or a child. If you're a mum, then you'll be able to picture this quite easily. It could be one of your own, it could be an imaginary child. Sometimes one of the first self-help books I ever read was The Chimp Paradox. If you haven't read it, it's quite good to give you visual analogies of how to talk to this. But basically, we want to, in order to take our power back, we want to make sure we, like you, the human that's got hopes and dreams and has got things you want to achieve in life, you are the one that's in the driving seat. And you are not allowing that voice of fear, that internal safety committee, to be anywhere near the steering wheel, not holding the map, and you're putting them safely in the back seat with their seatbelt on, where they get to be carried along with the journey, because you're probably, possibly, never gonna not have that voice. It may not be as loud from time to time, and you may not even notice it a lot of the time. Like my voice is not as loud as it was 7 years ago when I was in the corporate world, partly because I've taken myself out of that environment. But actually, with running your own business online and showing up on video and like bearing your soul and your truth online to strangers and potentially people that won't get it and potentially people that won't like you, it brings up other fears, absolutely primal fears that come up through that. So it's same, but different, right? It's the same, but different for you, I'm sure. But the idea is that we get to take the power back and we get to be the one in the driving seat. We get to be the one saying, no, this is where we're going. We're putting in our destination into the map. You are not holding the map. You're not giving me the directions, but you are going to sit in the back there with your seatbelt on. I'll give you an iPad to watch and you're going to come along for the ride because we're doing this. We're doing this anyway. So that's kind of what I wanted to share in terms of um like if you're letting fear win, that's a little insight into how you can stop letting fear win. But it takes patience. It takes a lot of compassion to not respond to that voice in a way that is angry, that is belittling, that is shutting parts of yourself down. Because what we want to do is meet it with compassion, like it is a small child, like it is a scared child. It's a scared part of you. And we want to meet that part of us with a lot of compassion now. So we talk kindly to it. We put it in the back seat. We give it a snack. We distract it in that way. And we say it's okay. We're in control here. We are the ones leading the way, and you're coming along and we're gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. So I want to ask you this, like, what are you currently denying yourself of because of that voice of fear? What's the job that you want to apply for that you daren't because you don't think you're good enough? What's the club or the hobby or the whatever it is thing that you want to go along to that you're saying, oh, next year maybe, because you're worried about going along alone, or what are people going to think of me, or what if I don't enjoy it? What are some of the things that you're denying yourself of? And how can you stop letting fear win by implementing some of these theories that I've spoken about today? And then if you are sitting there thinking, I would love to come along to one of your retreats, Emma, then ta-da! We are just about to go into the pre-sale, the behind the scenes pre-sale of the next retreat, which is happening in the new year in 2025. And if you are listening either before that or even after that, you can get yourself on the wait list, and that's going to ensure that you get the pre-sale information the next time we're running a retreat. So even if that's after the one in the new year, there will be more. I cannot wait to do these again. Like literally, it was just such a beautiful day. Feedback was so good, like better than I could have imagined. Like people were leaving feeling peaceful, calm, like lighter, yet energized. They were buzzing. I've had messages today, like 4 days later, saying I'm still buzzing from the weekend. I've got people saying that they want to bring other people back next time. So I am pretty sure this is going to sell out behind the scenes before I even get a chance to bring it to the internet. So if you want to be in a chance with coming along to the next retreat in Margate in the new year, then get yourself on the wait list. There is a link to that in the show notes. And yeah, I would love to see you there and would love to get an opportunity to spend the day with you. We have beautiful rooms as well to put you up. So we have the retreat day pass, which gets you from 10 a.m. till 4:30 p.m. We're together for the day. You get all your lovely, nourishing food. I facilitate a number of exercises that you go through. There is never any pressure to speak up, to talk, to share. But what I found is through the day, everyone gets really comfortable with one another, with the safe space that I've created in terms of like there is no judgment. Like you are very welcome here. Whatever is coming up for you is very welcome here. And actually, it's always better out than in, right? I maintain that like deeply that it is so much better out than in. If you're thinking it, if you're feeling it and sharing it, just lightens that load. So I facilitate the day in a really beautiful, like spacious way. There's no rushing, there's no force, there's no pressure to do anything. The idea is you're taking time out of your busy schedule, you're leaving the chaos behind, and you're stepping into the calm of the Margate Beach House, and you're putting your trust in us for the day, and we are going to take care of the rest. And you are going to feel nourished, you are going to feel lighter, you are going to feel like you can take on the world when you leave those doors. And if you want to stay overnight, we have amazing 24-hour passes as well. You get a beautiful room. We've got a twin room where you can share with a friend or with a new friend that you meet on the day. And we've also got beautiful double sea view rooms as well, two of those. We have a hot tub that we get to use just before dinner is served in the evening. We go to the beach where there's a sauna and cold plunge experience. It is a whole situation. And yeah, if you want to get in on the best price to snag that seat early, then get on the wait list, which is on the link below. I think that's all for today. Let's wrap that up there. If there is anything that's come up for you in this episode that you want to discuss further, you can send me a text now on the in the show notes, and I'll receive that. Or you can send me an email. I'm emma@modernleadhair.co.uk, or you can visit my website, or you can find me on social media. I am always open to having more conversations about these things. Plus, the more conversations I have with you, the more inspiration I get for bringing these topics here to the podcast. So there is more to come. I have so many things that I want to talk to you about. A big part of the journey that we're going to go on in season 4 is around what I call the journey of like coming back to yourself, this homecoming, this reclamation of self. And I want to share stories of my own reclamation through my health journey, through reclaiming my voice. There is a number of things that I want to talk about. There are a number of guests that I'm going to have on the show, and a number of topics that I'm going to bring as always. So if you are loving what you hear, make sure you're subscribed to the show. If you're not already following us on YouTube, head over there and give us a follow there too. And please do leave us a rating and a review, because it really does help us spread the word of the Modern Leader Way. And if you know someone that you know would love to tune in, then please do share it with them. All of this helps me just make that bigger impact that I'm looking to make in the world. That is all for now, my lovely. Thank you for tuning in again. And until next time, until next week, take care.